The alarm on the bridge of Harmony's Edge started blaring at 0300 hours. Commander Daewon jumped from his chair and rushed to the communication station. His crew was already there, their faces lit by the strange purple glow of an incoming transmission. "Sir, this signal is broadcasting on all known frequencies," said Lieutenant Hana, her fingers dancing across the console. "It's using protocols we've never seen before. Ancient ones." Daewon stared at the screen as symbols began forming into words his translator could barely understand. The message was from the Velthar, a species so old that most galactic civilizations considered them myths. They had existed for over 400 million years, watching stars being born and dying, seeing countless species rise and fall. The translation came through slowly, each word appearing with a weight that seemed to press down on everyone in the room. "To all spacefaring peoples of the galaxy, this is the Velthar Council speaking from the deep archives. We issue this command with full authority granted by the First Agreement. Earth's solar system is now designated as a forbidden zone. No ship shall enter. No contact shall be made. The humans are not alone on their world. Something sleeps there. Something that must not be disturbed. This is not a request. This is survival." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving only static and silence. Daewon felt his mouth go dry. He had been in space for 15 years, had seen nebulas and black holes, had met dozens of alien species. But nothing had ever frightened him like those simple words. "Something sleeps there. Get me a direct line to Earth Command," he ordered. Now. Within hours, the message had spread across the entire galaxy. Humanity watched in confusion and growing anger as alien ships began avoiding Earth space like it carried a plague. Trade vessels that had regular routes through the solar system suddenly changed course. Diplomatic channels went silent. Even the friendly Telrin, who had been humanity's first alien contact 20 years ago, stopped responding to messages. On the lunar research station, Dr. Jiwoo sat in her lab reading the Velthar message for the 100th time. She was one of the few humans who had been present during that first contact 2 decades ago. She remembered how excited everyone had been, how they thought it would change everything for humanity. And it had changed things, just not in the way anyone expected. Jiwoo closed her eyes and remembered that day, the Telrin ship landing in the Sea of Tranquility. The tall, graceful aliens emerging in their environmental suits, the historic handshake, the exchange of gifts and information. Everything had been perfect, friendly, full of hope, until their sensors started going crazy. She remembered the Telrin expedition leader, whose name translated roughly as Sky Singer, suddenly stopping mid-sentence. His large eyes had gone wide, and all 3 of his hearts had started beating so hard that the humans could see it through his suit. The other Telrin had rushed to check their equipment, their movements frantic and afraid. Within 3 hours, they were gone. No explanations, no goodbyes, just gone. But before they left, one of their scientists had grabbed Jiwoo's arm. His grip was gentle but desperate. He had leaned close to her helmet and whispered words that she had tried to forget for 20 years. "You live on a tomb. Gods sleep beneath your feet. Leave this world if you can." The human government had classified the entire incident. They said the aliens were just superstitious, that their sensors had malfunctioned. They told people that the Telrin would return once they fixed their technical problems. But they never came back. Now, looking at the Velthar warning, Jiwoo realized the truth. The Telrin hadn't been superstitious. They had been terrified, and now the oldest species in the galaxy was telling everyone else to stay away from Earth. She pulled up her old research files from that day, the classified ones that only a handful of people had access to, the scans that the Telrin equipment had detected before their hurried departure. There were massive energy signatures deep within Earth's crust, not in one location, but dozens of them scattered across the planet, under the oceans, beneath the ice of Antarctica, buried under ancient volcanic formations. The readings showed power levels that dwarfed anything humanity had ever created, and they pulsed like heartbeats, slow, steady heartbeats. Something was down there, multiple somethings, and they were alive. Jiwoo's hand shook as she copied the files onto a secure drive. She needed to show this to someone. She needed people to understand that this wasn't just aliens being afraid of humans. This was something else entirely. Back on Harmony's Edge, Daewon received orders from Earth Command. Return home immediately. All human ships were being recalled to Earth space. The government wanted to present a united front, to show the galaxy that humanity wasn't afraid. But as Daewon set course for home, He couldn't shake the feeling that fear might be the smartest response. The Velthar had survived for hundreds of millions of years. They had outlasted entire galactic civilizations. If they were afraid of something on Earth, maybe everyone else should be too. He looked out at the stars and wondered what was sleeping beneath the world where he was born. And more importantly, he wondered what would happen if it woke up. Dr. Jiwoo sat in the empty conference room of the lunar station waiting. She had sent encrypted messages to 3 people she trusted. People who had been there that day 20 years ago. People who remembered what really happened during first contact. The first to arrive was Commander Dae-won, who had just docked his ship an hour earlier. He looked tired, but his eyes were sharp and alert. Next came Dr. Hyun-soo, a marine archaeologist who had been a young intern during the Tailren visit. The last was General Bo-ra, who had been the military liaison for the first contact event. "Thank you for coming," Jiwoo said, dimming the lights. She activated the holographic display in the center of the table. "We need to talk about what we saw 20 years ago. What we were told to forget." The hologram showed the lunar surface on that historic day. The Talrin ship was beautiful, like a silver leaf floating down from the stars. Humans and aliens meeting for the first time. Everyone was smiling, even though the alien smiles looked different from human ones. "Watch this part," Jiwoo said, speeding forward to 3 hours into the meeting. The Telrin were setting up their scanning equipment, standard procedure for any landing on a new world. They wanted to catalog the geology, the atmosphere, the local environment, simple science stuff that both species understood. Then everything changed. The hologram showed the exact moment when the Telrin equipment started showing readings. Their screens lit up with colors that didn't make sense. The expedition leader, Sky Singer, froze in place. His translator device fell from his hand and bounced on the lunar dust. "I remember this," Dae-won whispered. They looked like they had seen death itself. The other Telrin rushed to their leader. They were checking the equipment, running the scans again and again. Each time they got the same results. Each time they looked more afraid. Jiwoo paused the hologram. The official report said their equipment malfunctioned, that they panicked over nothing. She pulled up another screen. This is what their equipment actually detected. The screen filled with scan results from Earth's surface despite them being on the moon. The Telrin sensors were powerful enough to read planetary signatures from orbit. What they showed made everyone in the room lean forward. Deep beneath Earth's crust there were structures. Massive ones. They weren't natural geological formations. The patterns were too regular, too organized. And they were generating energy signatures that the Telrin equipment couldn't fully measure. The readings just kept going up beyond the scale. "Look at the locations," Hyun-soo said, pointing at the map. "Mariana Trench, Antarctica, Siberian Traps, Yellowstone, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. These are all geologically significant areas." "Or," Bo-ra said quietly, "these significant areas exist because of what's underneath them." Jiwoo nodded. "I've spent 20 years analyzing this data in secret. These structures are approximately 2 to 3 billion years old. They were built during Earth's early history, when the atmosphere was completely different." She showed them more scans. The structures weren't just sitting there. They were connected by a network that spread across the entire planet like a web, or like roots, or like blood vessels. "Before Skysinger left, he pulled me aside," Jiwoo continued. He was shaking. I had never seen a Telrin shake before. "He told me that we live on a tomb. That gods sleep beneath our feet." "Gods?" Dae-won asked. That's how his translator rendered the word, but I don't think he meant gods in a religious sense. I think he meant beings that are to us what we are to ants. Maybe worse. General Bo-ra stood up and walked to the window overlooking Earth. The blue planet hung in the black sky, looking peaceful and beautiful. "The government must know about this. They've had the same data we have." "They do know," Jiwoo said, "and they chose to classify it. They thought if we ignored it, it would go away. They thought the Telrin were just overreacting. But now the Velthar have confirmed it," Hyun-soo said. "The oldest species in the galaxy is telling everyone to stay away from Earth. That changes everything." Jiwoo brought up one more file. 3 days ago, before the Velthar warning, I detected something new. The energy signatures from those deep structures are changing. The pulse rate is increasing. Very slowly, but it's definitely increasing. "Pulse rate?" Dae-won asked. "You mean like a heartbeat?" "Yes. For 20 years, these structures have pulsed once every 72 hours. Regular as clockwork. Now they're pulsing once every 71 hours and 58 minutes. That's only a 2-minute difference, Bora said. It's a 2-minute difference that never happened before in 20 years of monitoring. Whatever is down there, it's becoming more active. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the data, understanding what it meant. Something ancient was waking up. Something that made the oldest species in the galaxy issue a warning to everyone else. Yunsu pulled up his own files. I need to show you something I found last month. I've been doing deep-sea archaeology in the Pacific. I found structures at depths that shouldn't be possible. They look like crystals, but they're organic, living crystal. He showed them images of impossible architecture, towers and chambers that seemed to grow rather than be built. They glowed with their own light, pulsing in patterns that looked almost like language. I brought samples to the surface. Yunsu continued. They dissolved the moment they touched our atmosphere. All that was left was residue. I had it dated, he paused. 2.4 billion years old. From the Great Oxygenation Event. When Earth's atmosphere changed from toxic to breathable, Jiwoo said. At least breathable for us. What if, Hyunsu said slowly, the atmosphere didn't change naturally? What if something changed it deliberately, and then went to sleep because the new atmosphere was toxic to them? The implications hung in the air like smoke. Earth wasn't just humanity's home. It was something else first. Something that had shaped the entire planet and then hidden beneath it waiting. We need to tell people, Daewon said. Everyone? Not just the government. Everyone on Earth deserves to know what's under their feet. And then what? Bora asked. 'Cause a global panic? Make people afraid of their own planet? People should be afraid, Jiwoo said. Because whatever's down there, it's waking up. And we have no idea what it will do when it opens its eyes. Hyunsu stood on the deck of the research vessel Deep Explorer, watching his drone descend into the darkness of the Pacific Ocean. The screen in front of him showed the depth counter climbing higher and higher. 10,000 meters, 12,000, 15,000. We're approaching the target coordinates, said his assistant, Young-hee. She was monitoring the drone's vital signs, making sure the pressure didn't crush the expensive equipment. Bottom should be in sight any moment now. The drone's lights pierced through the black water. Strange fish with transparent bodies swam past, unbothered by the mechanical intruder. Then the seafloor came into view and both researchers gasped. The structures they had detected on sonar looked even more impossible up close. They rose from the ocean floor like a frozen forest, each tower made of material that shifted between crystal and something organic. The surfaces were smooth but covered in patterns that looked like writing, or circuit boards, or maybe both. Is that thing glowing? Young-hee asked, adjusting the drone's camera. It was. The structures pulsed with a soft blue light that came from within, like bioluminescence but more regular. The pulses moved through the towers in waves, traveling from one structure to another in patterns that seemed deliberate. They're communicating, Hyunsu whispered, or dreaming. I can't tell which. He maneuvered the drone closer to one of the smaller towers. The drone's mechanical arm extended, preparing to take a sample. The cutting tool activated, and a high-frequency vibration began slicing through the crystal organic material. The moment the piece broke free, every structure in the area stopped glowing. The sudden darkness was complete and terrifying. Then slowly the lights came back on, but the pattern had changed. Now all the structures were pulsing in unison, faster than before. Did we make them angry? Young-hee asked, her voice tight with fear. I don't know. Secure the sample and bring the drone back. Now. The sample reached the surface 2 hours later. Hyunsu held the container carefully, amazed that something so old could still exist. The piece was about the size of his fist, still pulsing with faint light even though it was separated from the main structure. Let's get it to the lab, he said. But they never made it. As soon as they opened the container's seal to transfer the sample, the piece began to dissolve. Not melt or break down, but literally fade away like it was being erased from existence. Within seconds, only a fine dust remained at the bottom of the container. No, Hyunsu said, trying to save something, anything. But the material was gone. The only thing left was the dust. He sent it to the lab for analysis anyway, hoping something could be learned from it. The results came back 3 days later and made his hands shake as he read them. Age, 2.4 billion years, give or take 50 million. Dating back to the Great Oxygenation Event, when Earth's atmosphere changed from methane and carbon dioxide to oxygen-rich air. The moment when nearly all life on Earth died and was replaced by new forms that could breathe the poison that oxygen was to the old ones. But this material had been alive during that time. And somehow, deep underwater where conditions were different, it had survived. Still alive, still functioning, still communicating after more than 2 billion years. Hyun-Soo published his findings in a restricted scientific journal, the kind that only researchers with high-level clearance could access. He didn't expect anyone to believe him. He certainly didn't expect a response from outside Earth. The message came through on his personal terminal at 3 in the morning. An encrypted signal that bypassed all normal communication channels. The sender identified himself as Kormenos, a Velthar scientist. Dr. Hyun-Soo, the translated message read, "Your discovery is both significant and dangerous. I am breaking protocols of my people to contact you. We need to meet. The humans must understand what sleeps beneath their world before it is too late." The meeting happened on a neutral space station in orbit around Mars. Hyun-Soo took a shuttle up, his heart pounding the entire journey. He had never met a Velthar before. Few humans had. They were reclusive, ancient, and supposedly very wise. Kormenos was waiting in a private chamber. He looked like stone that had learned to move, with skin that shifted between gray and silver. His eyes were deep and sad, like someone who had seen too much time pass. "Thank you for coming," Kormenos said in perfect English. "I know this is risky for both of us." "Your people told the galaxy to avoid Earth," Hyun-Soo said. "I need to know why." Kormenos gestured to a holographic display. Images appeared showing galaxies, star systems, planets. 400 million years ago, when my people first achieved space travel, we found something. Evidence of a civilization that came before us, before everyone. We call them the primordials. More images appeared. Structures that looked similar to what Hyun-Soo had found in the ocean, but bigger. Planet-sized, star-sized. Impossible. The primordials shaped the early galaxy, Kormenos continued. They seeded life on thousands of worlds. They built networks of energy that connected star systems. They were like gardeners cultivating a cosmic garden. And then, for reasons we never understood, they went to sleep. "Sleep?" Hyun-Soo asked. "You mean they died?" "No, sleep. True hibernation. They built tombs for themselves on certain worlds, deep beneath the surface where time moves differently. They left behind only their gardens and the life they had planted. We found records, warnings left in places only advanced species would look. The warnings all said the same thing. Do not wake the primordials. Let them dream in peace." Kormenos zoomed the display to Earth. Your world was their capital, their home. The structures beneath Earth's surface aren't just tombs. They're life support systems, the planet's magnetic field, the tectonic plates, even your moon's gravitational influence. All of it is artificial, designed to keep the primordials alive while they sleep. Hyun-Soo felt his legs go weak. "You're saying Earth isn't natural?" "Parts of it are. But the stable conditions that allowed life to evolve, those were created. Your species evolved in a garden, unaware that the gardeners were sleeping beneath your feet." "Why did they go to sleep?" Kormenos' expression grew even sadder. "Loneliness, we think. They lived for billions of years. They saw the universe when it was young. They built wonders that made stars jealous. But they were alone. So they decided to plant seeds and wait. Wait for new intelligence to grow. Wait for someone to talk to. And if someone wakes them, then they judge. They look at what has grown in their garden and decide if it was worth the wait. If the new species shows wisdom, compassion, potential, the primordials share their knowledge and return to sleep content. But if the new species is violent, destructive, unworthy, then the primordials simply leave. They take their gardens with them. Take their gardens? Your sun would dim. Your magnetic field would collapse. Your tectonics would stop. Earth would become a frozen dead rock in space within a generation. It has happened before. 17 times that we know of. Hyun-Soo sat down, his mind racing. Your warning. You told everyone to stay away because humanity is approaching something, doing something that might wake them. Your deep-sea drilling, your nuclear testing, your seismic surveys, all of it disturbs the structures below. The primordials are beginning to stir. My people can detect the change from across the galaxy. Soon, very soon, they will wake. And when they do, they will judge humanity. What do we do? Kormenos placed a hand on Hyun-Soo's shoulder. The gesture felt awkward, like the alien wasn't used to physical comfort. You prove you are worthy. Show them that intelligence has grown into wisdom. Show them that their garden has produced something beautiful. How? That, Cormano said, is the question your species must answer. And you must answer it quickly. The primordials will not wait forever. Captain Sung Min was running his routine checks on the orbital defense platform when his instruments went crazy. The gravitational sensors were showing fluctuations near Earth that made no sense. Gravity didn't just change randomly. It was constant, predictable, boring, except now it wasn't. Control, this is Platform 7, he said into his communicator. I'm reading gravitational anomalies at multiple points around Earth. Can you confirm? The response came back after a long pause. Confirmed, Platform 7. We're seeing it too. All platforms are reporting the same thing. Stand by for instructions. Sung Min watched his screen as the anomalies grew stronger. They were appearing in a pattern, rotating around Earth like the planet was sitting in the center of an invisible wheel. Each spike lasted exactly 17 seconds before fading, then appeared again at the next point in the rotation. Down on Earth's surface, Dr. Young Hee was having her own crisis. She was a neurologist who specialized in sleep disorders, and her office had been flooded with patients over the past week. Everyone was experiencing the same strange dreams. It starts with darkness, one patient told her. Complete darkness, like I'm underground. Then I hear something. Not a sound exactly, more like a feeling. Like the Earth itself is breathing. I see chambers, another patient said. Huge underground chambers with walls that glow. And there are figures in the chambers, tall ones. They're made of light and stone at the same time. They don't move, but I know they're watching me. Patient after patient told her the same story. The details were identical. Same chambers, same figures, same feeling of being observed by something ancient and patient. Young Hee started having the dreams herself. She would wake up at exactly 3 in the morning, her heart racing, the images still vivid in her mind. Underground passages that stretched for miles, walls covered in symbols that hurt to look at but somehow made sense. And always the feeling that something was teaching her, preparing her for something. She wasn't alone. Reports were coming in from every country on Earth. Millions of people were having identical dreams. The internet was exploding with theories and panic. Some people thought it was aliens. Others blamed government experiments. A few religious groups declared it was the end times. Young Hee knew it was something else, something older than religion, older than humanity itself. Meanwhile, in Iceland, seismologists were staring at their readings in disbelief. Volcanic activity across the planet had increased by 300% in just 2 weeks. The ring of fire was lighting up like a string of firecrackers. Yellowstone's caldera was showing signs of movement for the first time in thousands of years. Iceland's volcanoes were rumbling in harmony. But the strange part was the temperature. With all that volcanic activity, Earth should be heating up. The oceans should be warming. The atmosphere should be filling with ash and gas. Instead, temperatures were staying exactly the same. The extra heat was going somewhere else. Being absorbed by something, Dr. Taeyang, a geophysicist, figured it out first. He was studying the seismic data from multiple volcanic sites when he noticed the pattern. The heat wasn't just disappearing. It was being channeled, directed through underground pathways to specific locations deep in the crust, the same locations where Hyunsu had found his ancient structures. They're feeding, Taeyang said to his colleague during a late-night research session. The structures are absorbing the heat, like they're waking up from a long sleep and need energy. Around the world, compasses started acting strange. The magnetic North Pole had been drifting for years, but now it was moving faster. Not just moving, but jumping. Every day it would be in a different location. Airplane navigation systems had to be constantly updated. Ships at sea lost their bearings. A young physicist named Soo-jin discovered that the magnetic field wasn't weakening. It was being rewritten. The patterns were changing into something more complex, more organized, like someone was upgrading Earth's magnetic field from a simple bar magnet to a sophisticated computer system. Back on the lunar station, Jiwoo was coordinating all the data coming in from around the world and from orbit. She had set up a secure network of scientists who were trying to understand what was happening. Every day brought new reports, new anomalies, new signs that something fundamental was changing. The primordials are waking up, she said during a video conference with her team. All these signs point to the same thing. The structures are becoming active, Gerwer, but why now? Asked Daewon, who was attending the meeting from his ship. Hyun-soo said they've been asleep for billions of years. What changed? We did, Hyun-soo answered. He was in his lab, surrounded by data and samples. We started going deeper into the ocean, deeper into the Earth. We split atoms and detonated nuclear weapons. We sent signals into space. We did all the things that intelligent, curious species do. And it disturbed their sleep. Like a child playing too loudly in the house, Young-hee added. Eventually the parents wake up. Are we in danger? Sungmin asked from his orbital platform. The question hung in the air. Everyone knew the answer, but nobody wanted to say it. Finally, General Bora spoke. She had been listening silently until now. The Velthar quarantine fleet arrived at the edge of our solar system 3 hours ago. They're not here to invade. They're here to make sure nothing gets out if things go badly. What's their definition of badly? Sujin asked. Complete extinction of humanity and sterilization of Earth. They've done it before to other species who failed their judgment. They consider it mercy. The video conference fell silent. Everyone looked at their screens, at each other's faces, and saw the same fear reflected back. So we're being tested, Daewon said. The primordials are waking up and they're going to decide if we deserve to live or die. Not just live or die, Jiwoo corrected. Kormenos told Hyun-soo that species who pass the test get something. Knowledge, wisdom, a place in the cosmic order. We inherit their role as gardeners. And if we fail, then Earth dies with us. Everything on it. Every animal, every plant, every ocean. The primordials take their garden back and humanity becomes nothing but dust. Young-hee thought about her patients and their dreams. The dreams everyone is having. I think they're not nightmares. I think they're lessons. The primordials are trying to teach us something. Prepare us. Prepare us for what? Taeyang asked. For meeting them. For understanding what they are and what they want. The dreams show us their chambers, their symbols, their presence. They're making us familiar with them so we don't panic when they fully awaken. When will that be? Jiwoo pulled up her latest readings. The pulse rate of the deep structures was now increasing by the hour, instead of by the day. Based on current acceleration, full awakening will occur in approximately 72 hours. 3 days, Sungmin whispered. We have 3 days to figure out how to prove humanity deserves to exist. No pressure, Sujin said with dark humor, but nobody laughed. They all understood what was at stake. In 3 days, the oldest beings in the galaxy would open their eyes and look at what had grown in their garden while they slept, and humanity's entire future would be decided in that moment of judgment. President Bora stood at the head of the Emergency Council meeting in Geneva. The room was filled with world leaders, scientists, and military officials. Everyone looked tired and afraid. Outside, protests were happening in every major city. Half the population wanted to flee Earth. The other half wanted to dig deeper and fight whatever was coming. We have 48 hours, Bora said, her voice cutting through the nervous chatter. In 2 days, the primordials will fully awaken. We need to decide what humanity's response will be. We should evacuate, said one leader. Get as many people off-world as possible. Where? Asked another. We have maybe 100,000 people living on Mars and the Moon. Earth has 8 billion. We couldn't evacuate even a fraction before time runs out. General Taeyang stood up. He had been working with his military team on various scenarios. We have another option. We could try to seal the structures. Use nuclear weapons to collapse the chambers where the primordials sleep. Bury them so deep they can never wake up. The room erupted in arguments. Some people thought it was a good plan. Others called it suicide. Jiwoo raised her hand, waiting for silence. It wouldn't work. The structures are connected across the entire planet. You'd have to destroy Earth itself to stop them. And even if you could, the Velthar would stop you. They're watching everything we do. So we just wait? Someone shouted. Wait for these ancient things to wake up and judge us? What gives them the right? They built the garden, Hyun-soo said quietly. Earth as we know it exists because of them. They shaped the magnetic field that protects us from solar radiation. They designed the tectonic system that recycles our crust and keeps the planet alive. Without their structures, Earth would be like Mars, dead and cold. Then we're already at their mercy, Bora said. The question is what we do with the time we have left. On the other side of the world, pilot Taeyang was conducting a survey mission over Antarctica. He had volunteered to map the recent changes in the ice sheet. What he found made him call the emergency council immediately. Sir, you need to see this, he said, sending live video feed to Geneva. The screen showed Antarctica from above. The ice sheet was melting in specific patterns. No, not melting. Being carved. The heat from below was creating shapes in the ice, geometric patterns that stretched for kilometers. They looked like circuit boards or maybe writing in a language that didn't use letters. "They're beautiful," Young Hee whispered, watching from her lab. "They're a message," said Sujin, who was analyzing the patterns with computer assistance. The shapes repeat in mathematical sequences. Prime numbers, Fibonacci series, universal constants like pi. They're trying to communicate with us. Jiwoo and Hyun-soo worked together through the night, using every tool they had to translate the patterns. They compared them to ancient human mythologies, looking for connections. Every ancient culture had stories of beings who came before. Giants, titans, gods who slept beneath the earth. The Greeks had their titans imprisoned in Tartarus beneath the earth. The Norse had their sleeping gods waiting for Ragnarok. The Sumerian tablets spoke of the Anunnaki who came from the stars and shaped humanity. African oral traditions told of ancient ones who molded the first people from clay. Asian texts described sleeping dragons in the earth's bones. They weren't myths, Hyun-soo said, looking at the patterns. They were memories. Species before us encountered the primordials or maybe just sensed their presence. The stories got passed down, changed over time, became legends. But what are they trying to tell us now? Jiwoo asked. Sujin cracked it first. She was young, brilliant, and hadn't slept in 3 days. It's not a language. It's a question. The patterns, when you map them out, form a single symbol repeated over and over. In mathematics, this symbol means prove it. Prove what? That we deserve to be here. That we've grown into something worthy of their garden. Back in Geneva, the council was no closer to a decision. Some wanted to show military strength. Others suggested building monuments or sending artistic achievements into the deep earth to impress the primordials. A few religious leaders wanted to pray. "We're thinking about this wrong," Daewon said, standing up. He had been quiet until now, listening to everyone argue. "We're trying to impress them or scare them or please them. But maybe they don't want any of that." "What do they want?" Bora asked. "Think about what Kormenos told Hyun-soo. The primordials went to sleep because they were lonely. They lived for billions of years with nobody to talk to. So they planted gardens and waited for someone to grow. Someone interesting. Someone worth talking to. Your point? My point is we shouldn't try to impress them or fight them. We should talk to them. Really talk. Show them who we are, everything we are. The good and the bad. The beautiful and the ugly. Let them see us honestly." Young Hee nodded slowly. "The dreams. The primordials have been showing us their world. Maybe we should show them ours." "How?" someone asked. Sujin pulled up her engineering designs. "I've been working on something. A resonance array using the patterns from the ice. We could broadcast a message directly into the Earth's mantle. Not words, but experiences. Memories, emotions, everything that makes us human." "What would we show them?" a leader asked nervously. "Everything," Jiwoo said. "Our wars and our peace treaties. Our pollution and our conservation efforts. Our art and our science. Our cruelty and our kindness. We show them what it means to be human. To be growing. To be learning from our mistakes." "That's insane," someone objected. "You want to show ancient godlike beings all our failures? Our violence? Our stupidity?" "Yes," Hyun-soo said firmly. "Because hiding it would be dishonest. And I think honesty is what they're looking for. Species that lie about who they are probably failed the test. We need to be authentic." The room fell silent as everyone considered this. It was a terrifying proposal, laying bare all of humanity's flaws to beings who could extinguish Earth with a thought. But it was also the only proposal that felt right. "We would need global participation," Bora said. "Memories and experiences from every culture, every nation, every walk of life. Billions of people contributing their stories." "We have the network," Sujin said. "The internet can collect and compile everything. My array can broadcast it all at once, directly to the structures below." "And if they don't like what they see?" a military official asked. "Then at least we died being honest," Daewon said. "At least we didn't spend our last hours pretending to be something we're not." Dr. Minwoo, a philosopher who had been invited to the council, spoke for the first time. He was old, his hair white, but his eyes were sharp. "May I add something to the message?" "What?" "A question. The primordials gave us a question in the ice. Prove it. Let us ask them a question in return. Let us ask, what is your dream? I show them that we care not just about our own survival, but about understanding them. Show them empathy. The room was quiet again. Then slowly people began to nod. All in favor? Bora asked. Every hand went up. Then we have a plan. Sujin, how long to build your array? 30 hours if I have help. You'll have every engineer on Earth helping you. Everyone else, start collecting humanity's story. Everything we are. Everything we've done, everything we hope to become. We broadcast in 40 hours. As the meeting broke up, people rushing to their tasks, Jiwoo looked out the window at the city below. Lights were coming on as evening fell. Millions of people living their lives unaware that in 2 days, their entire species would be judged. She hoped they were making the right choice. She hoped honesty and empathy would be enough. She hoped the primordials would understand what it meant to be young and scared, and still trying to grow. The resonance array took shape in record time. Sujin directed thousands of engineers working simultaneously across 12 different locations. Each site was chosen for its proximity to the deep. Structures: Antarctica, the Mariana Trench, Iceland, Yellowstone. Sites where the barrier between surface and depth was thinnest. The array itself looked like a massive tuning fork made of crystal and metal. It would take the compiled human experience and convert it into vibrations that could penetrate through kilometers of rock and earth, a message that the primordials couldn't ignore. Meanwhile, the collection of humanity's story was happening everywhere. People uploaded their memories, their photos, their art, their music. Scientists contributed their discoveries. Historians shared records of every civilization. Artists sent paintings and sculptures. Musicians recorded symphonies and folk songs from every culture. But it wasn't just the achievements. People also shared their failures. War photographs, environmental damage, extinct species, crimes and cruelties, mistakes made and lessons learned or sometimes not learned. The whole truth of what it meant to be human. Young-hee was surprised by how willing people were to be vulnerable. She watched as millions of individuals contributed their most personal moments. A father's memory of holding his newborn child, a soldier's regret over lives taken in war, a scientist's joy at discovering something new, a farmer's satisfaction at harvest, a teacher's pride in a student's success. We're giving them everything, she said to Daewon, who was overseeing the military's contribution. It's strange, he replied. I thought people would want to hide the bad parts. But everyone seems to understand that being human means being complicated. We're capable of great beauty and terrible violence sometimes in the same moment. In Geneva, President Bora received a transmission from the Velthar fleet. Kormenos appeared on screen, his stone-like face showing something that might have been concern. President Bora, our sensors detect what you are building, your resonance array. We must warn you. The last species that attempted direct communication with waking primordials was eliminated within hours. What did they do wrong? Bora asked. They tried to demonstrate superiority. They showed military might and technological achievement, trying to prove they were strong enough to inherit the primordials' legacy. The primordials found this arrogant and immature. We're not trying to prove we're strong, Bora said. We're trying to prove we're honest, and we're asking them a question. Kormenos tilted his head, a gesture of curiosity. A question? Species do not question the primordials. They plead or boast or submit. We're asking what their dream is. We want to understand them, not just survive them. For the first time in the conversation, Kormenos showed something like surprise. That is unusual. Perhaps even unprecedented. The Velthar Council will observe with interest. The transmission ended. Bora returned to watching the array construction on multiple screens. 30 hours had passed. 10 hours remained until broadcast. Hyunsu and Jiwoo were in the Antarctic facility, making final adjustments to the equipment. The ice around them had been completely carved away by heat from below, revealing the ancient structure beneath. It pulsed with light now, bright and rhythmic like a heart beating faster in anticipation. It knows we're here, Hyunsu said, placing his hand near the crystalline surface. I can feel it, awareness, curiosity. Are they awake already? Jiwoo asked. Not fully, but aware enough to sense what we're doing. They're waiting to see what we have to say. Across the planet, similar scenes played out at every array site. The structures were responding, their pulses synchronizing with each other. Seismographs around the world showed the pattern. All the deep structures were now beating as one. Sungmin watched from his orbital platform as Earth began to glow. Not with normal light, but with energy bleeding up from beneath the surface. The oceans shimmered with bioluminescence that wasn't from any living creature. The continental plates outlined themselves in light. Earth looked like it had a second nervous system made of pure energy. "It's beautiful," he whispered to himself. Terrifying, but beautiful. With 1 hour remaining, Minwoo finished writing the final part of the message. His philosophical question to the primordials. He had spent 3 days thinking about what to ask these ancient beings. What question would show humanity's wisdom and empathy? In the end, he kept it simple. "You who shaped the cosmos, who built gardens and then slept, what is your dream? Let us help you dream new dreams." It acknowledged their power but didn't worship it. It offered partnership instead of submission. It showed curiosity instead of fear. "That's perfect," Bora said when she read it. "Send it to Sujin." It goes out with everything else. The final minutes ticked down. Every array site reported ready. The compiled human experience was loaded into the broadcast system. Trillions of data points representing 8 billion lives and 10,000 years of recorded history. Every joy and sorrow, every triumph and failure, every moment that made humanity what it was. "This is it," Sujin said from the main control center in Switzerland. "Once we start, there's no stopping. The primordials will receive everything." "Everyone's ready?" Bora asked on the global channel. Confirmations came from every site. Antarctica, the Pacific, Iceland, Siberia. All 12 locations reported green lights. "Then let's show them who we are," Bora said. "Activate the array." The resonance began. It started as a hum so low that people felt it more than heard it. The ground vibrated. Buildings shook gently. Windows rattled in their frames. Then the frequency climbed higher, moving through ranges that human ears couldn't detect but human bodies could feel in their bones. The array sites lit up like miniature stars. Energy poured down through the earth, carrying humanity's message into the depths where the primordials waited. The vibrations carried memories and emotions, translated into something beyond language, pure experience flowing downward. Jiwoo watched her instruments as the message penetrated deeper and deeper. 10 kilometers down, 100 kilometers, 1,000. The structures below were receiving everything, processing it at speeds that made quantum computers look slow. "They're responding," Hyunsu said, his voice shaking. The light from the deep structures changed color, shifting from blue to white to colors that had no names. The pulse rate accelerated dramatically, and then all at once every structure went dark. Complete silence. Complete stillness. "Did we fail?" someone whispered on the global channel. Nobody answered. Everyone held their breath, waiting. The wait lasted exactly 17 seconds. Then the structures erupted with light so bright that it could be seen from space. Sungmin watched from orbit as Earth lit up like a new star, blazing with energy that somehow didn't burn or destroy. The primordials were awake, and they were speaking. Not in words, but in direct understanding. Every human on Earth received the message simultaneously, planted directly in their consciousness. Not invasive, but gentle, like a teacher explaining something to a student. The message was complex, layered with meaning that would take years to fully understand. But the core meaning was clear. "We hear you. We see you. We understand you. You are young and flawed and beautiful. You are honest and curious and kind. You asked about our dreams. Let us show you." And then the primordials shared their own experience, their own story, billions of years of existence, the joy of creating life, the loneliness of being alone, the decision to sleep and wait for gardens to grow companions. They showed humanity why 17 previous species had failed. Some were too violent, seeing the galaxy as something to conquer. Others were too fearful, wanting only safety. Some were too proud, believing they already knew everything. One species had been perfect in every way except kindness, treating other life as tools rather than family. But humanity had done something none of the others had. They had asked the primordials about their feelings, shown empathy to beings they feared, offered partnership instead of demanding answers. "You are not perfect," the primordials communicated, "but you are growing. You make mistakes and learn from them. You hurt each other and then try to heal. You destroy and then try to restore. This is wisdom, not knowledge of facts but understanding of process." Young Hee felt tears running down her face. Around the world, billions of people were crying, laughing, falling to their knees. The relief was overwhelming. "We offer you a choice," the primordials continued. "Remain here under our protection, safe and guided like children. or accept responsibility. Become the next gardeners, learn from us, and then make your own gardens among the stars. Choose wisely. Both paths have value. The message faded, leaving humanity to decide their future. The structures began to rise at dawn. In the Pacific Ocean, Hyun-soo watched from his research vessel as the seafloor opened like a flower blooming. Water displaced upward in massive columns but fell back gently without violence. From the opening came something that defied description. It was tall, taller than mountains. It was crystalline but also organic, made of matter but also energy. Its form shifted constantly, never quite solid, never quite liquid. Sometimes it looked like a vast tree made of light. Other times it resembled a tower of living geometry. The human eye couldn't quite hold its shape, couldn't quite process what it was seeing, but it was beautiful. Overwhelmingly, impossibly beautiful. Similar risings happened around the world. In Antarctica, Jiwoo watched as ice melted away without heat, simply converting to water vapor through the primordial's presence. The being that emerged from beneath the frozen continent looked different from the one in the Pacific, but equally magnificent. In Iceland, tourists and scientists alike stood in awe as a primordial rose from the volcanic fields, wreathed in flames that didn't burn. In the Sahara, one emerged from beneath ancient sands. In the Amazon, another rose from the deep earth, and the jungle itself seemed to sing in response. There were 12 of them in total, one for each major tectonic plate. They stood like pillars connecting earth to sky, and their presence changed everything. The air itself felt different, cleaner, richer with oxygen. Plants around the world began growing faster, healthier. Sick animals recovered. Polluted waters started clearing on their own. The primordials weren't just awake. They were actively healing the damage humanity had done to the garden. They're not angry about the pollution, Young-hee realized, watching her instruments track the environmental changes. They're fixing it. It's like parents cleaning up after their children. In Geneva, the emergency council reconvened. Everyone looked exhausted but hopeful. The primordials had given humanity a choice, and now that choice had to be made. The safe option is tempting, one leader said. Let them protect us, guide us. We'd have guaranteed survival. But we'd never truly grow up, Day One countered. We'd always be children in someone else's garden. President Bora looked around the room. I think I know which choice humanity will make. But it has to be unanimous. Every nation, every person needs to agree. This decision affects everyone. The vote took 3 days to organize globally. Every person on Earth old enough to understand was given the chance to choose. Stay safe under primordial protection, or accept responsibility and become gardeners themselves. The debates were intense. Many people were afraid of responsibility, afraid of failing. Others were excited by the possibility of learning from beings billions of years old. Some worried about the cost, the effort, the danger. In the end, 78% of humanity chose to accept the responsibility. Jiwoo spoke for Earth when the decision was presented to the primordials. She stood in Antarctica looking up at the towering being that had emerged from beneath the ice. We choose to grow, she said simply. We choose to learn from you and become gardeners ourselves. We know we'll make mistakes. We know it will be hard, but we want to try. We want to carry forward your dream. The primordials' response came not in words but in feelings, approval, pride, joy, and something that felt like relief, as if they had been waiting billions of years for someone to make this choice. Then we will teach you, the primordials communicated to all humanity. But understand this, the knowledge we share is not given freely. It is earned through understanding, through wisdom, through compassion. Each lesson requires proving you are ready for it. The teaching began immediately. The primordials shared the fundamental principles of their technology. Not the technology itself, but the understanding behind it. They taught humans how to work with matter at the quantum level, how to manipulate energy in ways that seemed like magic, how to move between states of existence, how to build things that were alive but not organic. Sujin was among the first students. She spent weeks in communion with the primordial that rose from the Pacific, learning principles of engineering that made her previous knowledge seem like child's play. But every lesson came with a test of wisdom. She had to prove she understood not just how to build something, but when it should be built and why. They're not just teaching us science, she explained to her colleagues. They're teaching us responsibility. Every piece of knowledge comes with questions about ethics, about consequences, about the impact on other life. Yunsu learned about biological systems from the primordial in the Amazon. He discovered that life wasn't just chemistry and evolution. It was art, creativity, intentional design balanced with random chance. The primordials had planted seeds across the galaxy, each one unique, each one an experiment in what consciousness could become. "We're one of thousands," he told Jiwoo one evening. "Maybe millions. All over the galaxy, life is growing in gardens the primordials planted. Some are far ahead of us. Others are still single-celled organisms. We're all part of the same garden, the same dream." The Velthar fleet, still stationed at the edge of the solar system, watched everything with amazement. Cormeno sent a message to Bora. "In 400 million years of galactic history, only one other species has been accepted as students by the primordials. The humans have achieved something remarkable. High people offer our congratulations and our assistance." The quarantine ended. Ships from across the galaxy began arriving at Earth, not as threats but as fellow students. The primordials welcomed them all, teaching anyone who approached with genuine curiosity and humility. Earth became what it had been billions of years ago, a center of learning, a place where different forms of life came together to grow and understand. Pilot Taiyang was chosen for a special honor. The primordials offered to teach him how to pilot a new kind of vessel, one that combined human and primordial technology. It would be able to travel to distant stars, to find worlds where life was just beginning, to plant new gardens. "You will be the first of many," the primordial told him. "Humanity will spread among the stars not as conquerors but as gardeners. You will nurture new species, protect growing civilizations, plant seeds that will bloom in 1,000,000 years." Taeyang's first mission was to a star system 60 light-years from Earth. The ship carried seeds from Earth, biological templates, and the knowledge of how to adapt them to alien environments. But more than that, it carried the philosophy the primordials had taught humanity. All life is precious. All consciousness is valuable. All gardens deserve care. As his ship prepared to depart, Taeyang looked back at Earth one last time. The planet was surrounded by the primordials like 12 pillars of light, but even from space he could see they were beginning to fade. "They're going back to sleep," Jiwoo told him over the communication channel. "They said their active time is nearly over. They've taught us everything we need to begin. The rest we must learn ourselves." "Will they wake again?" Taeyang asked. "Eventually, when the next crisis comes or when humanity needs them. But they want us to grow without constant supervision. They want us to make our own mistakes and discoveries. What if we fail? What if we're not ready?" Jiwoo smiled, though he couldn't see it. "Then we learn from failure and try again. That's what they taught us. Wisdom isn't about being perfect. It's about trying, failing, learning, and trying again." Over the following months, the primordials gradually returned to their rest. One by one, they descended back into the earth, back to their chambers deep below. The light faded. The structures quieted. But they didn't disappear entirely. A faint pulse remained, a reminder that the teachers were still there, just sleeping, waiting to be called if truly needed. Earth settled into its new role. Human ships began spreading through nearby star systems, looking for young worlds to nurture, not to colonize but to garden. They planted life, protected it, guided it when necessary, but mostly let it grow naturally. Other species, seeing humanity's success, approached the sleeping primordials on their own worlds. Some were accepted as students. Others were told to wait, to grow more before the lessons would make sense. The galaxy began to change. Instead of species competing for resources and territory, they started cooperating as fellow gardeners. The Velthar, who had watched the cosmos for so long alone, found themselves with companions in their task of preserving and nurturing life. Young He, now elderly, sat in her garden on Earth and watched her grandchildren play. They were learning about the primordials in school, about humanity's choice to grow up and accept responsibility. She hoped they understood how close the world had come to extinction, and how humanity's survival had come down to one simple act: showing empathy to beings they feared. "Grandma," one child asked, "will the sleeping giants wake up again?" "Someday," Young He said, "when we need them or when we're ready to learn something new. But for now they're resting, dreaming new dreams, and we're helping make those dreams real by taking care of their gardens." Are we good gardeners? Young He thought about the restored oceans, the recovering species, the careful way humanity now treated other life. She thought about the new gardens spreading across the stars. Each one different, each one beautiful. "We're learning," she said. "We make mistakes still, but we're trying."